Right?
Kicking off with the weekend vibes. Fins talk, we go live. Bobby fans and fish tank Hank. Miami Dolphins, we got your back. Saturday noon is the place to be. Catching Dolphins talking fantasy. From the field to the fan debate. Fins talk today, don't be late. Fins up, we ride until the end with Bobby and Hank. They're your best friends. Podcast popping every week, no delay. Join the crew, Fins talk today. Live chatting, stats so prime. Miami hustle all the time. News and views will pave the way. Dive on in, it's Fins talk today. Top plays and what went wrong. Breaking down each game so strong. Fans united, feel the beat. Fins talk, Taylor can't be beat. Fins up, we ride until the end with Bobby and Hank. They're your best friends. Podcast popping every week, no delay. Join the crew, Fins talk today. Fins up, we ride until the end with Bobby
And Hank, they're your best. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you're on the other side of the world, and welcome to another edition of Fins Talk today on FTSN. I'm Bobby Fins Talk, joined always by the man, the myth, the legend, Fish Tank Hank. What's up, Fish Tank?
At least in my own mind, I am, right?
That's all you need. That is all you need. That's it.
You know, I've been catching up a little bit on the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a lot more thoughts than I've been having on this team right now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, you know, I think we're going to get into a few things here, Bobby. Not against each other or anything like that. And as you can tell, I'm trying to be a little more colorful today.
That's all right.
Living room.
Got the famous painting back there. You're ready to go and kind of, yeah. Man,
I got tired of looking at the ADT alarm thing, so I put that over it.
Well, there's a lot to talk about with the Dolphins. I mean, we discussed the schedule last week. We gave our early predictions just based off, early stuff. But like we talked about, once we get closer, we'll see how the team looks at that point, and we'll see if we have to adjust some things. But the preseason schedule got released, so we'll discuss on that. And Dolphins signed another quarterback, but I know a lot of people are freaking out about that. I don't even know his first name. I think he's Blaine Gabbert's brother. So, but we signed him, and I see. So why are we signing another quarterback? It's a body. Come on, guys. Come on. It's a body. It's not that.
You need somebody to throw a bunch of passes and wear his arm out.
You know what? And who cares? To me, you never know. That camp arm might be some big deal. We never know. Just the more the merrier. Get him in there. But no, a lot to talk about. Again, preseason schedule got released, which means it's crazy to think that we are in May. But it's right around the corner. It's only just a few months away, and which is great. But in August 10th. Sunday, Dolphins at Chicago. So, that's the game right there. That's the first game of preseason. And a lot, I don't care about preseason. I want to get the season. Bullcrap. If you love football, you care about preseason, especially if you're a Dolphins fan, because you want to see these young guys play. And that's the game. You're not going to see Tua. You're not going to see Tyreek. You're not going to see none of those guys. That's the game you're going to get to see Zach Wilson, Quinn Ewers. You're going to get to see Jalen Wright again. You're going to see Ollie Gordon. You're going to see the Nick Westbrook, the receiver we signed from Tennessee. Those are the guys you're going to get to see in that game. And then you're going to get a kind of a feel how these guys are how they might look early on in their career. Game 2, we stay in the NFC East, or excuse me, NFC South, North, and we go against the Detroit Lions in Detroit. That game is big because that's when we can expect to see Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, and those guys against a very good Detroit football team. And that might give you a little bit, not really a full picture, but at least a couple quarters of how your team might look through the season against a playoff Super Bowl type of contending football team, Fish Tank. And then finally in Miami, we take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Maybe we'll see a couple starters in that game, but that game's the one where you kind of like, okay, this is who we're going to see, who we're going to cut and whatever. So you're hearing these let me tell you, I'm very excited for this preseason on these games alone, especially the first two, because those are fun teams to watch. And I know Miami's gonna have joint practices with Chicago. How do you feel about the preseason looking in before we can against these teams?
Well, let's discuss who we're playing again. Who do we have first?
The Chicago Bears in Chicago.
The Chicago Bears in Chicago. Well, for me, there's a lot I want to see from these young players. We have two players that we have on our team that we drafted. Well, almost three players on our team that we drafted that will probably start at some point in time and will play this season. So I don't know how much of them we're going to see is my question. How much are they going to want to see of those first round drafts, Bobby? You know what I mean? How much do you think they're going to want to see those guys, like our defensive tackle and our offensive guard? And, do you think they're going to play them in our first preseason? For sure, right?
100%.
Yeah. So those are my two favorites. But then my other favorite is Ollie Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see a lot of action from this young man against Chicago. The weather should be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's gonna tell us a lot as far as who we picked up as undrafted free agents. It's going to give us a look inside of possibly what has Miami been doing. Is McDaniel ready? Are we going to, the list goes on and on and on. Did we make the right choices? We still have a lot going on after post June 1st, as you know. So that's going to impact how our team, our secondary and everything else. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the secondary, to be totally honest with you.
I think everybody is. We're all waiting to see. The secondary is the biggest question mark for Miami. I mean, obviously, people will automatically jump to the offensive line, and I think work still needs to be done in regards of depth. But I feel a lot better about offensive line than I did going into last year's, but I feel and I feel better about the offensive line than I do about the secondary, because there's a lot of hope and prayer at that point with that secondary if we go into the season with the way it looks right now. Again, here's even though we're right around the corner, it's still a long way to go before we're at the season. And first off, let me just say shout out to the Back It Up Binge podcast. He puts out great stuff, guys. Go check him out. Good afternoon, sir. Finn's TV, Sammy in the house. Great to see you, sir. Daniel, good afternoon, brother. He says he loves the fact that we have two scrimmage against the Lions. Perfect test to measure exactly 100%. And we got a new thing there we're testing out there. The comments on the video there on the screen. Fishing. I don't know if you can see it. All right.
I see that. I was looking at that. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, because I couldn't see.
Yeah. So that's a new
comments.
feature they have on here. So I'm testing it out right now.
I'm liking it.
As long as it's all, ain't nothing, because we got kids sometimes that watch the show, guys. And so as long as you keep those comments clean, family friendly, at least a little bit, we keep them up on there. Can
we say crap and poop?
Yeah. Crap, poop, dang it, dosh garnet. But,
Dadgummit.
There you go. Anyway, but no, I mean, the secondary, I mean, we're still a while away before we get to the start of the preseason, the season, that Miami could make a move to go get a corner. We know that the names have been attached. Asante Samuel, his name has been attached to Miami. Rashal Douglas has been attached to the Dolphins as well. So Miami is in the market for a veteran corner, which will be great once they get that done. And that will be, honestly, I would feel better if they went two corners before the start of the season. I know that Miami's mindset may be, hey, we drafted Cam Smith in the second round. We got to see what we have in this kid. We got to put him in the burner, put him, put his feet on the fire. Let's see what we got him.
Absolutely.
But when you're in a situation like Miami, where maybe it's like hey, you need to win now type of situation, it's a tough ask of someone like a Cam Smith to, hey, you need to play your best ball. He hasn't shown that the last 2 years. But again, that's on him. This is his career here. You got to show up and show out. So we'll see how that goes. Talking about corners, Fish Tank. Let's catch up on the Jalen Ramsey situation very quick.
All right.
Let's see here. David Ferrones of ESPN unveiled some intel per his colleague Jeremy Fowler. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported that the Dolphins are engaged with multiple teams on a Jalen Ramsey trade, though nothing is imminent. The Los Angeles Rams, which is Ramsey's former team who traded him to the Dolphins, they're in on it still. The Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. Even though nothing is imminent, one thing I was seeing there was that there's so much interest in him that Miami could get something more than what they thought they were going to get. The Rams are still very much alive to bring back Ramsey. However, the Rams face a key dilemma should they attempt to finalize a deal before May ends. So as we get closer to the end of May here is when we'll probably see how a deal gets done. Probably right. June 1st is the key date.
Yes.
That this could go down.
Yes. So, they're not going to do it before June 1st. We know that.
They could agree to it. They just can't finalize it till after June 1st.
Exactly. Yes. But I was looking at who we have, again, who we have without him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did Miami do? I'm not understanding it, I'm not getting what they're going for,
No, and again, you think of it, Jason Marshall, the rookie from Florida, Cam Smith. And again, I'm not going to crap on Jason Marshall at all. He is a rookie and where he was drafted. And from what I saw before the draft, it wasn't a guy that I had on my board in any kind of that fashion. I had other guys that I would have taken at that point, but hey, he might surprise us. I'm excited for Jason Marshall. I'm really looking forward to seeing him in preseason. Hopefully he surprises all of us and ends up being a great Dolphin. That's our prayer, right? For any Dolphin we drafted, no matter how we feel about which player was drafted at that point, we're rooting for him. I would love for Cam Smith to turn it on and all of a sudden, holy crap, who was this guy? Where was this guy the last 2 years? Man, Vic Fangio was wrong. I would love to say that. But again, you're going in with that question mark on a team that shouldn't need that many question marks in the first place when you're in this type of win now type of situation.
What do you think about Justin Simmons?
The safety?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in regards of safety, again, safety, I feel a lot better than I did before. I feel better about the safety position than I do the corner position. However, I'm with you. I think it should be worth exploring. I would definitely go after another veteran safety for Miami. And I think you could possibly maybe move a safety into the defensive back room if you needed to in that cornerback room. I would really love to see a corner or two corners signed by Miami. Let's look at free agency very quick.
We better really do something. We better see something at a Gator Kohu, Cam Smith, and Storm Duck during this preseason. We better see some magic. That's all I.
Yeah. No doubt. Absolutely. And again, here we go. So Asante Samuel is someone Miami's connected with. Rasul Douglas is another one of those guys connected with. You still have DJ Reed out there, Carlton Davis, Byron Murphy, Chavarius Ward. So there are still some decent names out there. None of them are going to go, whoa, going to make you go crazy. But, if you look at it, like Asante Samuel, second generation guy, his dad was one of the best out there. So, you think about that and he's not bad too. Rasul Douglas, a good corner, should be a QB2. He obviously played with the Bills, but Byron Murphy's a name. I don't know if Miami's connected with him at all. But again, what he did in 24, he's still available. That's a guy that I would love to see Miami go get. Obviously, Miami's just waiting until the numbers drop. Waiting for those contract demands to drop. And as they get closer to the season, that's when you might see Miami make a move or two, because that's when people go, okay, I just want to play, or I just want to get something. Sign me a 1-year deal. Okay, we sign you to a 1-year deal. It's a prove it deal. Either we extend you on a higher number, or a team loves you so much they sign for you next year. That's how Miami plays.
Yeah.
Or where I think how Miami's kind of rolling this. But Fish Tank.
I was thinking about DJ Reed also.
Yeah, DJ Reed for sure.
I mean, he's got some versatility in tackling, and he aligns with Miami's needs too. Similar defensive systems. So that could also work too.
100%. It's a great point. So let me ask you this, Fish Tank. You said you've been catching up on Miami stuff. I know you've been busy with moving, but you've been finally catching up on some stuff, and you had some stuff on your mind, my man. Talk to me about it. What's up?
Well, I just did. We talked about DJ Reed. Before that, I talked about possibilities of bringing in Justin Simmons, and as we're going along, I'm mentioning the things that I've been reading up on.
There you go.
I didn't hear you mention DJ Reed. That's why I brought him up.
Absolutely. Let's see here.
That's what you could tell. I paid attention in class this time.
That's right. That's right. Let's see here. Yeah, and then was this the other thing too? Tyreek Hill. That's the other one thing I was starting to talk about today too. Tyreek Hill. So we know how the season ended. We know, there's a lot of, off the field stuff. That sucks. Hopefully, you would hope that the last time is the last time, but you never know. But what happened at the end of the season for Dolphin fans and the Dolphins team, is unfortunate. And I've made my feelings known about that situation in regards of, I don't care what he said after the game. People could get mad and say stupid things and whatever. And that's all good. It is life. But, to quit on your team, that's a tough pill. That's a tough pill to swallow. And, but some good news coming out of Miami Dolphins camp so far. What's up, Cap? Cap in the house. Richard Keys, good to see you. But the good news coming out of Dolphins camp so far is Tyreek Hill's attitude and how he's been working with the team and gaining trust after what happened last year. The wide receivers coach for Miami, the new wide receivers coach, because remember Miami let go of Wes Welker. He's been nothing but giving praise to Tyreek Hill, which is different from what you hear from Anthony Weaver in regards of Jalen Ramsey. Kind of not really much of a conversation. They're not talking much about Jalen Ramsey, but they're really. Go ahead.
With Anthony, not to interrupt you, but with Anthony Weaver and these new players and having to fill Ramsey's spot with Kohu and a free agent and things of that nature, he's going to have to change his scheme to more zone, is what I believe Weaver will have to do because of those, inefficiency. We have so many needs at corner. He's going to have to go to zone. He has to. Yeah,
to address the holes if they continue to
the
keep
young
them.
players.
Yeah.
That, if they don't have he's got to do something to cover that inexperience. And the only thing I think he can do is go more zone.
Absolutely. So getting back to Tyreek, Fish Tank, coach, the new wide receivers coach, I don't have his name on me. If I could try to find it very quick before I forget, there you go, Robert Prince. He says, what he's been saying about Tyreek, 8-time Pro Bowler Tyreek Hill, who's been trying to get back to regain the good graces of the franchise. Tyreek's been great. If I text him, he texts me back. If I call him, he calls me back. He says, I'm going to be there. He's been here. It's been great. I've had nothing but positive experiences for Tyreek. He's been a great leader in the room. So we know how it ended. Let's see. What does this next one say? Chris Greer has had nothing but nice things to say about Tyreek in April and truly sounds like a veteran wideout is here to stay in Miami. He's been working and doing all the things to show his teammates that this is where he wants to be. As I told you, when we met him after the season, he wanted to be here. There was no indication otherwise. In terms of when he's in the building, doing everything, he's been great. Things happen with players. So two different stories, right? Jalen Ramsey, you hear nothing about him off the field in the news, but he wants out. Miami is pushing hard to get him out. Tyreek, we saw the season ended. He's in the news a lot off the field. And it looked like, hey, maybe he might be the one to leave. Now it looks like, no, he looks like he's the one to stay. How do you feel about that? Are you cool with Tyreek staying? What's your thought on that situation right now, currently as it stands for the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek, the thing about Tyreek Hill is, if you have a good coach and a good mentor, and sometimes people get to a certain point in their life and somebody impacts them and makes a change.
Kelly Carpenter.
Now, whether that's
somebody called Hank. That's usually what happens, guys. Hank's been talking about this the last few days, the last couple episodes.
Going back and forth and back and forth. All right, am I in?
You're in. You're here. You're here. You're here. You're there. Can't hear us, right? Okay, he's gonna have to. So what happens is, guys, is that when someone calls Hank during the show, it messes him up, and he has to bounce out and come back in. So we'll wait for Hank to drop back in here, and we will wait for to get his 2 cents on that situation. Richard Key says Anthony Weaver would be a great head coach for this franchise. Let me go ahead and take Hank out of here and put him back here. And there he is.
Here, there, everywhere.
Everywhere. Hey, it's the newest tradition here on Finn's Talk today. For the last 3 weeks, somebody calls Hank. This time it was Kelly. We heard the name. We blame Kelly for that. All love, Kelly. All love. Hopefully she's doing good. But Fish Hank, your point, my man.
Tyreek Hill in 2024, he was averaging 8.6 yards. He's fast in the 40-yard dash. Oh, stop, people. Leave me alone. And, he now has Robert Prince, as you said.
Yeah.
And I think, Hill's presence in training camp and all that, it's going to test our secondary also, And, yeah, he spouted off at the end of the season. He was pissed off. He was pissed off and felt probably like he had put everything into it that he had the past couple years and wasn't seeing the results he wanted, And I don't think he was outright blaming anybody. I just think he was ticked off. And, if you're on a team expecting to go deep into the playoffs with the talent that's on the team and the people around you, you're going to be disappointed after 2 years of trying it and it still looks the same or worse. So for me, I can understand his sentiments. However, you can't continuously be a problem all the time. But his work ethic is incredible. So is he doing anything personally right now? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Is this if he's doing anything right now? And for now, thank God, he's not. But you got to expose the other wide receivers for their inability to be making plays without Tyreek Hill taking everybody down the field also. Because that's been an issue, especially our number 3 wide receiver. We need a little more consistency, in my opinion, on that number 3. But, and the good part is we had our tight end, come alive, which you started to see the results of that. He wound up being open and open And, you know, they have to cover somebody. And the other great part is you have a bruiser now in short yardage. You also have Daniels that they picked up from the Steelers in free agency for a guard. You also have Jonah S. I can't say his last name, Sava something. And, you know, he's a mauler. And that's who you just put on your offensive line with a bruising back. You know, you're not going to be able to come up on third down and close everything up anymore, because we're going to have a back that can make those yards whether you're there or not. And then when you start putting, you know, 8 in the box, Miami's going to torch you sooner or later. So there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of working parts. And, you know, there's going to be some penalties along the way from some of those guys, you know, whether it's a holding penalty, even though he's a much better pass block protector, Ollie Gordon, than anybody we currently have. You know, he might be in on a lot of pass blocking plays that people aren't expecting too. And if he's as versatile as they say, he might have an even bigger role than people are expecting. Now, when it comes to speed and getting around the outside, you play a defense that can't cover the outside and our speed overtakes, you're going to change it up and go the other direction with Achane or Wright. We all know that. So I'm just saying, you know, there's more going on than just Tyreek Hill that's going to have a positive impact that I think is going to make him happier when he starts seeing the results of those blocks, of the time Tua gets in the pocket, of them running the ball more. All those things are going to calculate to him getting more yards, more receptions, and more looks.
And Cap right there says it too. He says, first off, facts, fish tank. Sooner or later, Cheetah needs to take a moral inventory of himself. Cap says also Nick Westbrook and Malik Washington are key in his opinion. And then he said, let you know, Savania, I believe, as a last name. But yeah, no, the third wide receiver, I think Miami is, you know, good there. I mean, you got Nick Westbrook. I'm excited about seeing him. Malik Washington, Taj Washington, and of course, Devon Achane. You can't sleep on in that spot as well, especially Miami taking Ollie Gordon with Jalen Wright from last year. Gives Devon Achane opportunities not only to hit that goal of 1,000 yards rushing, hopefully, but also get that 500 yards receiving to play in that type of role as well. In regards to Tyreek Hill, again, I've made that feeling known before that I was like, hey, you know what? Once you quit on your team, I'm done with you at that point, you know. However, the more, you know, it looks like he's going to stick around. Miami's been praising him. And if he's putting that work in and he's regaining the trust of his teammates and he's showing that he could be a leader of this team, you know, it's really, don't tell me, show me. You know, and you know, I want to see it, and I want to see the fruit of that, and you know, again, as long as he wears that Dolphins logo on his jersey and on his helmet, I'm going to root for his success on the field during the season. You know, I think everybody should. I don't care how you feel about Tyreek Hill as a person, or how you feel about Chris Greer as a GM, or Mike McDaniel's head coach, or Tua as a quarterback. Those guys, that's your team. Those guys are on your football team, and you should be rooting for their success. You know, I know a lot of people root for a failure because they want to be proven right. You know, at that point, it's like you're in a different type of ball game. At that point, you're not.
They want you to fail just so they can go after a specific player.
Well, that's that's the point. You know, it's like, you know, you know, you might say, you know what, man, I just don't see it in this guy. Like, you know, the whole quarterback situation, I just don't. Or you can think the head coach, you know, I just don't think he's a good head coach. I just don't, you know, I don't believe in Tua as a franchise quarterback. Blah blah blah. Okay, you know, but you could say that, but at the same time, but I hope that they do good this year. They prove me wrong. That's fair. I'm down with that. you don't have to believe, you don't have to think that he's this guy, but you know what? Prove me wrong. And so I would really want to see, like, I want to see the Tyreek from a couple years back. I want to see, it doesn't have to be the exact Tyreek where he's looking like he's trying to get 2,000 yards receiving. I just want to see a guy who's in his teammates' face saying, hey guys, get your head right. Let's do this. You know, giving 110% on the field every play, every game. You know, the guy who was voted the best player in NFL by his peers 2 seasons ago or a season ago. You know, I want to see that guy, you know, and so, yeah, my preference would be based off what happened after that immediate aftermath of that was to move Tyreek. But now that looks like he's staying and he's doing the work and showing his teammates and his new coaches that he wants to be here and he wants to play up, then I'm cool with that. You know, and I'll be rooting for him on Sundays and as long as he's Dolphin. Finstanza's in the house. Evan, what is up, my brother? Tyreek is in Montreal today hosting his youth camp. That's awesome, my man. Rich, if is the middle word in life. If is the middle word in life. Yeah, if. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Talking about now, you know, very quick, do some I don't know. I forgot what the house cleaning, I guess. House cleaning, I think we could call it. I don't know if that's the right word. But FTSN for today, right now, started last night. If you guys don't know yet, I saw Cap in there. But last night, started 8 p.m. Eastern. Fantasy Now Plus, our fantasy football podcast. Those guys, that team is amazing. The website, the work they put in, everything they do, Fish Tank. I'm so proud of those guys. But they are currently, and I want to make sure I get this right, they are they're doing a 24-hour show. It started last night and they're going strong, man. Justin Burley is killing it. He has been on. He only got a 10-minute nap time, and which is fine. That usually is enough for me, but I mean, still 24 hours is a tough pill. But they are going live, and it is all for a good cause. It goes to, let me make sure, Extra Life, a program of a Children's Miracle Network hospitals raising funds. So they start, all proceeds go to charity, Super League charity live stream. They're not just talking about fantasy football. They're talking about football in general, all types of football fans. They got a whole schedule here. I mean, my goodness, it goes up until tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern is when they'll wrap that up. So guys, if you have a moment, if you have just a few minutes of your time, just jump on that stream. Just, you know, give the guys some you know, good, kind words, you know, show them a little bit of support. I know it's a long day. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's, you know, you're off on Monday. If you're off on Monday, you know, happy Memorial Day to everyone out there. But yeah, just doing some house cleaning. I will not be on again today. Actually, I'm off for the rest of the day. But I will be on twice tomorrow. We got East Tentry Boys tomorrow morning. And then Josh Kimmel and I will be on for a No Holds Barred Wrestling podcast in the afternoon to recap today's Saturday night main event show. You know, you got R-Truth taking on John Cena. So it'll be a lot of fun to discuss and all that whatnot. We were recapping WCW Halloween Havoc last week, Fish Tank, which is an old 1998, but it was still, we were talking about Hogan versus Warrior and everything. And that was a fun show. But anyway, there's some chores there. House cleaning.
Hey, talking about those big men and wrestling and all that stuff. Did you know that Miami basically last year did all finesse?
Yes.
In its off season, they went finesse, speed, and all that. Did you notice this year, however, they targeted players in the draft for the line of scrimmage, and 4 of the 8 picks were linemen over 300 pounds. Yeah. So I'm just saying, Miami is getting ready to stop being pushed around. I'm telling you, they did a lot to get physical.
They did, and I when I was on the SoFlo Sports Show with Ash 305 Sports Babe and Lou from Dade, who are two great people, and they got some really cool stuff going on for those Dolphin fans who want to travel to go to different games. 305 Sports Travel, go check them out. They got some great packages there. But I was on their show, Fish Tank, and we were talking about that, and, talking about the finesse team that we were going into, and looking at how they might be going into a more physical team. And they thought I was hungry. They thought I wanted Arby's, because I kept saying, when I look at this team and what Miami did in the draft, especially in the draft, every time I see, 7A, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers, you keep going and you're going, all I can think of, we have the beef, from Arby's, that commercial, we have the beef, and that's the Dolphins, and that's what they did. I mean, they literally went out and got some beef on their defensive, in their trenches. So it's a different mindset, and the vibe coming out of Miami so far, the words, the way they're saying it, you hear the coaches, Weaver and Prince, and then you listen to the players, and it's a little bit of a different vibe, and maybe it's working. We talked about a culture shift and how possible what that was with Mike McDaniel still the head coach, but maybe, just maybe, they could figure this out. But again, actions speak louder than words. And, I think, I've heard all different types of expectations with the Miami Dolphins. I've heard, crazy expectations, which is fine for, and then I've heard very low expectations. Fish Tank, you and I are in the middle. We both stopped. Last week on an early prediction, we went 9-8. We went game by game, and we were like, and there was one that I would pick a winner, and you picked you would pick that a loser. But the way you said it was like, you had to think. You had to go, damn, wait a second. And that's the way this team is. And you know what, though? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with mid to low expectations, because then it's like, I'll get hurt anyway. But, it's just kind of how reality sets in. And again, I think actions speak louder than words. And we would hope that Miami really surprises a lot of people, and surprises themselves, and surprises the fans. And it will be cool. Miami has a very favorable schedule. They're on 5 primetime games, which is crazy, which is awesome. And I will say, man, one thing I love about Miami.
You think that's awesome?
What?
That we're on 5 primetime games.
Oh, yeah. For me, as a selfish fan who likes to watch his team yeah, sure. Do I think it's awesome because Miami sucks on primetime lately? No. I know where you're getting at.
Do you realize that, what is it? Something like weeks 9 through 11, Miami, they're not going to get a lot of rest with all these prime times.
No.
You have Mondays, you have Sunday nights, you have Thursdays. Miami's going to be tired. They're going to be tired throughout the season. And weeks 9 through 11 are no freaking joke. That's the serious time. Miami might get 6 out of the first 8. They might get that. But after that, please don't be the usual Miami Dolphins. That's all I'm saying. Get physical.
Well, again, that's the point.
Get that third down.
But that's the point that I'm saying, and I think that's where you're getting at is actions speak louder than words, right? You could say everything. You could say, hey, man, this guy's showing up. He's putting in the work. He's with all his buddies. These guys are all cocoon by freaking yeah. But once the season starts, and if Tyreek's back to what he's doing, and Tua is throwing, and that Mike McDaniel's calling stupid plays, and Miami's back in the hole again, it's like, you see, that's what, so actions speak louder than words. You could have expectations. But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm an idiot. Let's do it. But anyway,
you know what? The Dolphins have been fooling me for over 25 years.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. I know it. But I will say this too. Something I saw yesterday. It's some kind of new prank. It's a friendly prank that people have been pulling on each other, but it's a trend. And Quentin Bell did it yesterday. His wife, I believe, made him do it. And what you do, Fish Tank, is you call your friends, and they say hello, and they call them at night, and for no reason at all, you just call them, and the guy, they'll go hello.
I
and you
did
go,
that already anyway.
Yeah, and they go, and you just say, hey, how you doing? I'm good. What are you up to? Oh, nothing. Just watching TV. Hey, I just called to wish you a good night. It was like, wait, what? So I saw this guy for his daughter made him do it, and he called his best friend and friends, I'm watching a movie. He goes, oh, nice. Well, listen, I'm just calling to wish you a good night. And the friend was like, what the hell is wrong with you? So Quentin Bell did that last night, and he called Tua first. And Tua's hanging out, and he was, as Quentin Bell's designing a car, doing a car out of Legos or something. He goes, I'm just calling to wish you a good night. And Tua went, wait, what? He goes, what? And so it was just so funny. And then they called Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb right after. And so if you guys could find that video, it's on Twitter. Take a look, man. And I'll tell you, it's funny. I laughed, but at the same time, I was like, that's my team. I love that. I love that these guys have that relationship. We know, again, you have to be on the field. I love how close they all are, but you have to show up on the field. But at least, hey, you know what? I love the camaraderie around those guys. That's what's awesome about this team, that's still like that. So just throwing that out there. But anyway, Fish Tank.
Yes.
We went through most everything that's going on.
You feel we covered it all?
Mostly everything. Is there anything else we should cover today before we wrap this up?
Well, to add to this, we kind of had problems at tight end too. And we got Brown from the Seattle Seahawks. So his blocking, I like his blocking. We have so many different people that they've gone out and got. And, I love the fact that we have Anthony Weaver on our team. I like Prince, our new wide receiver coach. I like the fact that Miami has finally gotten physical on both sides of the ball. That's massive with our torn up secondary. First of all, that we took on the defensive line,
Yeah.
But also the offense, bringing in Daniels and Jonah. I was like, wow. Especially Jonah. He's a mauler, man. That's all they say is the guy's just like vicious.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking of him and Ollie Gordon just beating people up.
Again, Miami went into the draft with a mission. Yeah. And it looks like they went on a mission to get physical, or get some beef. And hopefully that translates to physical. Hopefully we're looking at a mean green fighting machine on Sundays. You know what I mean? Or mean aqua
swimming machine.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, one or the other. But, we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully next weekend we'll be talking, if not, hey, Miami worked it out with Jalen Ramsey. That'd be the best case scenario. But, more than likely, maybe we're talking about a trade reaction, and seeing what, as we get closer to June 1st, what did Miami get for Jalen Ramsey and how that could be used in next year's draft, and how Miami's going to respond in free agency post June 1st when they get a little more money on the books. So anyway, we appreciate everyone who's been tuning in and commenting here. On this new edition of Fins Talk Today. We'll be back next Saturday at noon Eastern. And until then, that's the one and only Fish Tank Hank. I'm Bobby Fins Talk. Like and subscribe, and Dolphin fans, most importantly, fins up.